Back at it. All right, what's today? Do not be the court cynic. This one's for me. This one starts with a quote by Arthur Schopenhauer. I like him. What does that say? My eyesight's not the best. Wax, a substance naturally hard and brittle, can be made soft by application of a little warmth, so that it will take any shape you please. In the same way, by being polite and friendly, you can make people pliable and obliging, even though they are apt to be crabbed and malevolent. Hence, politeness is to human nature what warmth is to wax. Interesting. Express admiration for the good work of others. If you constantly criticize your equals or subordinates, some of that criticism will rub off on you, hovering over you like a gray cloud wherever you go. People will groan at each new cynical comment, and you will irritate them. By expressing modest admiration for other people's achievements, you paradoxically call attention to your own. Daily law. The ability to express wonder and amazement and seem like you mean it is a rare and dying talent, but one still greatly valued. That's from the 48 Laws of Power. Play the perfect courtier. Nobody likes a cynic. Cynical. It's like always like a negative, habitually negative person is a cynic. Let's see, anything in here? What's this one? I was just thinking about this guy. This is a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. If I can read it. This is the worst light. Forgetting your objectives. During the journey, we commonly forget its goal. Almost every profession is chosen and commenced as a means to an end, but continued as an end in itself. Forgetting your objective is the most frequent of all acts of stupidity. Yeah. Remember the objective. That's a good one. Yeah, don't get so caught up in, I think the term is the minutia, that you don't see the grand scheme that first set you out on the journey. I like that one. Yeah, other than that, no idea what's going on in the world. Had a crazy dream. Had a dream I was arguing with Andrew Tate, of all people. Funny how that guy made it into my dream. I forget what he was saying, but I was kind of like telling him off, or just correcting him forcefully. Let's put it that way, as he was in error. So, other than that, I woke up thinking about playing with AI again this morning. Still mentally tinkering with my prompt for my dog training courses that I want to put together. And it did dawn on me that I did incorporate the Hermetic principles into this, that there's 7 of them, which does work perfectly for each day of the week, for a 7-day course. If somebody were willing to commit to something that big. But who knows? I'm still tinkering around with the presentation of it. So that's why I woke up thinking about how to reformulate my prompt. Everybody I listen to and hear on YouTube talking about AI, because I've been watching a lot of videos on AI. That's what everybody says to do anyways. You want to like recalibrate and keep recalibrating your prompt until you get it honed in exactly how you want it, or how you want the output. Because you never know what it's going to output until you input the prompt, and then you see what it does, how it reacts to you. Action, reaction. Thought about that a lot yesterday. How people are using it to talk to, and you shouldn't. That's not how you should see this. Because the way I'm using it, I'm using it in areas that I do have knowledge in, so it can't really give me false information in a way that I won't catch it. And I definitely don't engage with it like it's a person. It's just like a digital assistant. That's how you have to look at it. Who happens to be very creative. But what that happens to force you to do is be very mindful with how you articulate your commands. Because everything about AI is your prompt. So if you're clumsy with your verbiage, your sentence structure, if you happen to be overly verbose, you want to be like laser sharp with your sentences. You make them short but as meaningful and as impactful as possible, which means your vocabulary has to be extensive. So that's why I'm perfecting prompting. And I'm just using dog training as the scaffolding. Because I do know something about that. And it's funny because I had found the Hermetic Principles, man, I want to say, I've been going on like 16 years ago, something like that. And there was just something about the little book I found. It's called The Kybalion. That hit really deep, and I never really. Every time I would read it like maybe at least a couple times a year, because it's a small book, but it's highly engaging and impactful. And there was something super powerful about it, but I really could never put my finger on what it was, and like how can I use this? Like, there's got to be a way I can use this. And it wasn't until I started playing around with Claude, I was like, oh, okay. Especially because it can infuse an idea. It can infuse two ideas together and draw a meaningful parallel between the two. It just has that ability. So when I told it to infuse the idea of the Hermetic Principles with canine psychology and behaviorism, it went to work. And what it spit out was pretty amazing. And I don't hear many people talk about the Hermetic Principles very often. Every once in a great while, somebody will say something like, oh, okay, this guy knows about it. And the first time I ever heard anything that came from that type of thinking was the phrase, as above, so below. When I first saw that phrase, I don't even remember where I saw it. I don't know if it was like in a t-shirt or like, it was like just like a quote that I saw somewhere, but I didn't know what it meant. I mean, I knew what it meant when I read it, but I didn't know where it came from. And it wasn't until me and my woman were at the library, we would go to the library and check out books every so often, and I found a little tiny book called The Kybalion. And it sounded like very like, ooh, that sounds kind of esoteric. Check this out. And I cracked it open. And I'm just thumbing through it. When it came to law of correspondence, it said right there, as above, so below, as within, so without. And I started reading that. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Interesting. I'm going to check this out. And then what drew me to it also was like the author was the Three Initiates, because it was a really old copy of the Kybalion, and at that time it was published under the pseudonym the Three Initiates. That made it even more mysterious, like, ooh, who were they? So that's what drew me to it. So all these years later, here comes Claude, and I'm trying to figure out, how could I apply this to something? Because I know you can apply it in a way that can help you make money. Because I've heard of people doing this over and over again. I heard people using AI to do certain things that eventually help them, generate some income. I'm always for that. So that's what hell gave me the idea to come up with a training manual, but a manual to train people. So that's what I want to do. Is I want to train the people. I don't want to train your dog. I can train your dog, but I don't have the time for that. But I do have the time to train you. Take an hour or so. Because taking on the training of a dog is like, to do that meaningfully, people who I know do like a board and train, which means I'm going to take your dog for a specific period of time, and I'm going to train your dog, and I'm going to bring it back to you and teach you everything I did to your dog. Unfortunately, I don't have the time for that, to do that full time, and most people who do that normally have like a spouse or like a significant other who's bringing in a bulk of the income for the family. So because it takes a lot of time to generate the amount of clientele that could sustain you in a way that could be your full-time job. So for me right now, that wasn't an option. But like, if I can get a group of people to meet for about an hour in a park, I have that kind of time. And then since I don't have a whole lot of experience in dog training, but I do have extensive experience with working with dogs. See, that's the thing. I've worked with dogs for probably the same amount of time, probably like around 16 years going on. Yeah, probably about 16 years. Especially in a pack setting. It's not that I just work with dogs one-on-one, but I've worked with dogs in a pack, so I know how they behave with each other. And that's super important to know if you're going to train people who happen to have dogs that need to go into, like, maybe they have to take them to a daycare, because I still work with dogs at a daycare. So it's important for your dog to know how to be social. Well, I know all about that. And I know I would even venture to say that I am very knowledgeable with that, leash work. But it was the presentation of like doing this for like a group setting that I was trying to put together. And I have been trained by a trainer, and the manual that was given to me, I saw how he did it, or his business did it, but I didn't just want to copy that. I wanted to like make it my own, but I didn't know how to do it until AI. So now that's where my mind is on a lot. I'm a bit of a I've heard people say things like attention deficit disorder and ADHD. I don't have the hyperactive part of it, unless you want to include an hyperactive mind. But like, I'm not bouncing off the walls like ADHD kids normally do. But my mind is probably bouncing off the inside of my skull. So maybe if you want to apply it that way, I probably have that. But when I get my attention is caught by something, I get hyper focused on it. And this is where I heard somebody say it could be a superpower if you can focus it on something healthy. So like right now I'm really into AI and how I can try to figure this out in a way that I can benefit from and in turn help others benefit. And dogs are the key. So that's what I'm doing. Is that a star or a plane? That's crazy. That's got to be a light. Either off in the distance in the mountain, or maybe it's a helicopter hovering. I know what the sky looks like at this time in the morning, and I don't ever remember seeing that there. I don't think it's a star. That's got to be a helicopter hovering. It's way higher than the mountains, and it's up in the sky. Yeah, I can see it. It's got a blinking light. That's a helicopter. All right. Interesting. Something must have caught their eye because it's definitely still. I remember one time in my past life, I don't know what time of this. I think it was like really late. I think this was during the time that I used to work a second shift at a different medical device company. The second shift was 2:45 to 10:45 at night. So my internal clock was off, and I tended to be up way late. So this must have been like maybe, I'm just gonna guess, say maybe sometime like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm on my computer. I used to play video games. That's nothing else to do. I used to play Counter-Strike on my computer. And all of a sudden, I heard a helicopter like hovering right over my house. I was like, what the heck is going on? And there was no lights. It wasn't like there was a spotlight like they were searching for somebody. But it was loud, like literally hovering over my house. It wasn't circling. It wasn't like circling the neighborhood. You know how they do that circling sometimes? It wasn't doing any of that. It was just still over my house. Like, it sounded so loud. In my head, I imagined it couldn't have been like maybe, I don't know. I don't even know. 50 feet, 100 feet straight up over my house. And I could see the lights, like the lights I just saw, the red light blinking. There's like a blue light blinking. And I jumped up and I wanted to, go outside so I could see what was going on. And in that house I was living in, I don't know whose dangerous idea this was, but that particular house had deadbolts that required a key for the inside. It didn't just have like a little latch you can unlock. It actually had like a double deadbolt with keys from both sides. And I had locked the doors. And actually, before this happened, I just didn't think. At the time, we didn't have keys on the inside. Because later, after this happened, I was like, that's dangerous. We need to make keys to have in these deadbolts all the time. Because if we need to get out of the house and these doors are locked, we're screwed. Well, that's what happened. I couldn't get out of the house to go see what was happening because I couldn't find my keys that I have on my key ring for my car. And I'm running around inside the house trying to find my keys, and the whole time I'm hearing this helicopter just hover above my house. And then finally I found my keys and I unlocked the door, but by the time I unlocked the door and I ran and I got into the backyard to look straight up, the helicopter was like going off into the distance. You could see it. I was like, what the heck just happened? Why would it do that? It was just hovering there. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, but that happened. I was probably like, I don't know, maybe, I want to say mid to late 20s when that happened. Incident: North 5 to North 14 truck lanes closed. We shall see. I'm going slow behind this truck. This guy's going a little too slow. Oh, come on, sir. I'm gonna go around you. That's why you're not in the truck lane. That makes sense. What happened? But anyways, don't be a cynic. Nobody likes a little dark rain cloud coming around. People probably don't think I'm a cynic, but they probably do think I'm a little nuts. With all my conspiracy theory shit. I used to love that movie, with Mel Gibson. That was a good one. Remember in the end, he ended up being right? The way it goes. I don't like to think of them as tinfoil hat theories. I like to think of them as spoiler alerts. I can't take credit for that. I heard that somewhere. This guy's got a brake light out. Sir, someone needs to tell you. I can't do it. Right now, all these trucks would be in the truck lane, I believe. This is a pretty good downhill grade. Sometimes trucks they can lose their brakes on a downhill grade. Yeah. like that. What it said about wax, a little warmth can make wax more pliable. That goes along with the kill them with kindness phrase. Yeah, I kind of learned that. People with terrible attitudes, you can negate all of that behavior with just persistent kindness. But it has to feel genuine. They could tell if you're being kind like a smart ass way. If you're doing it to annoy them on purpose, they'll be able to sense that. So it's got to be genuine kindness. I try to look at them as people who haven't had kindness in their life, so they just become perpetually pissed off. And they're just angry. And it feels better to release that anger on other people, but in a way that gets other people angry. It's that misery loves company thing. So you kill them with kindness. You kill their misery with kindness. You're not killing them, you're killing their misery. You could do it by the law of polarity. You have to anchor yourself in the polar opposite mental and emotional attitude of others. Now that doesn't mean if you're if you're dealing with a kind person that you become the opposite. Because you don't want to dabble in negative energy. Negative energy is only useful in extreme moments and for small amounts of time. You could use negative energy to amp you up, but then you have to get real tactical with how you express it. Because if you notice, when somebody gets you really angry, you feel that like energy build. But if you could switch your mind into using it in a productive way, that could be a very, very powerful tool. Because negative energy is like a spike of energy. And positive energy tends to build very slowly. But negative energy spikes quick. So if you can use that spike in a positive way, that's another superpower. I think. Just a thought. Little theory I just came up with. There's a lot of people pulled over on the side of the road. I don't know why. Thank goodness it's not me. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Toot, 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 toot. Ooh, I just thought of something else to incorporate into that prompt. cymatics. That's for the principle of vibration. If you look up cymatics is the science, or I think it's the demonstrative science of how sound affects matter. If you look that up, you'll see a bunch of videos of because sound is nothing but an auditory vibration. But the way they demonstrate it is with a vibrating sheet of I've seen it of a disc, like a sheet of metal, just a circular disc. They'll throw sand on it. And then there's I think they use a speaker, to tell you the truth. They use a speaker because you can hear the sound. And it's just like a tone that starts really low. And you know how that bass, like music, kind of, you feel the bass? It's just a single tone, a single solid tone. And you can see how it affects the sand on the disc. It actually starts to form a pattern. And then slowly they raise that tone from bass to, it goes all the way up the musical scale to the higher tones. And the higher on the scale it goes, the more intricate the pattern of sand is on that disc of whatever it is. But it's called cymatics for anybody who wants to look that up. So I'm going to maybe incorporate that somehow into the vibration principle, so I can use that as an example in my presentation that I'm thinking of giving, or that I'm going to eventually give. I'm going to give. That I am giving. It's another thing they say when it comes to how you phrase things. When you say you're going to do something, you're automatically putting it out into the future, into a future, point in time. But you're always in a perpetual now. So by verbally doing that, you're mentally putting it off in a point in time that you'll never be in. So that's how you put things off. That's how procrastinators develop. They're constantly putting things into something that's in a point in time they'll never be in, because you're always now. So when you verbalize something like I just did, you want to try to get into the habit, and I'm trying to get into the habit of always stating things in the present. So instead of saying I'm going to give an orientation on behaviorism, you would say I give orientation. Pretty much embody it by saying I give orientations on dog psychology and behavioral modification. Not I'm going to, or not I eventually will. Strike all that from the record. You are and you do. That's how you want to phrase things. I'm still getting into the habit. I catch myself saying it. That's why I did that right now back there. But that's part of the step, is to actually start catching yourself doing these things so you can correct it. If you don't know you're doing it, you can't correct it. That's part of becoming very self-aware, which I'm still developing, but I've kind of gotten pretty good at it. All right, well, I'm here at work, and I'm having a great day. I hope everybody else does the same. Go to work.